I mean,
No.
And granted, maybe Joe Bastardi and the famed meteorologist would differ with me, but it's 800 fires. I mean, I don't remember when California's ever had something like that. 800 fires.
How many more? Lynn? How many more acres do they got to burn up? They've been burning up for years. The Santa Ana winds. How many more acres are left?
Again, I won't come on the record with what I think is going on with that, but I think it's not coincidence. I really do, and I think it can be tied in to certain events which are happening, and this may be other forces at work.
Yeah, now
as kind of warning signs, that type of thing.
Lynn, let me just squeak in a little door here. It wouldn't have anything to do with marriage or anything, would it?
No, I won't. I can't go there because if I say yes or no, then I'm tipping my hand. So it has to do with a variety of things,
okay,
which are happening globally, not only in California but in other places.
Okay. Well,
it's weird stuff.
Let me ask you. You call it the acceleration. Art Bell used to talk about something called the quickening. Would you say that's the same thing?
It's exactly the same thing. In fact, I allude to and give Art, credit for coming up with the quickening, not to use his words, so I call it the acceleration. But I think what we're seeing is an acceleration of events. For instance, the whole idea, here's another one, talks about this one world system of government. And according to some of the things that have come across my desk, they're talking about chipping the entire population of North America. In other words, Digital Angel has this microchip that's about the size of a grain of rice. And already people have used it. I think Club Med offers it. You can have it under your skin, so you can just wave, and you can get a drink at the pool. You don't have to worry about your credit card, and it's billed to your room, and that type of thing. More seriousness, or a more serious case of that is I think an official in a Mexican, either a town, mayor, something like that, or district attorney, I forget the details, but he had his whole staff chipped with Digital Angel. So the technology is there. Is that the mark of the beast? Don't know. Could it serve as the mark of the beast? Absolutely. Yeah. But, when you get stuff like this and you start hearing about this, and so you realize that the prophecy which I'm drawing this from was written 2,000 years ago, and it's very specific. It's not fuzzy quatrains. It says very specifically that you won't be able to buy, sell, or trade without the mark, period. And we've never had that before. We've never had a mark before. I can go down and I can hand somebody a $5 bill and get whatever I want at the market, right? Yeah. Or I can buy 1 gallon of gas with that $5.
Well, Lynn, I don't know if you've seen our website, but we have a little bee on our website because, believe it or not,
that's another sign.
Another sign. I'm a beekeeper myself.
Right.
And there is
they
have an RFID chip that is so small, it's on the back of this bee. Somebody in the UK is trying to figure this thing out. They have it like scanners, like you would have a grocery. So as these bees come in and out, they have this little RFID chip on their back there, so they can get pretty small. And I think before we brought you on there, Jamie was alluding to a comment. I think it was from Albert Einstein, who said that when the bees disappear, man has 4 years left. The bees started disappearing last year, this year. Well, that brings us right to 2012. Is that coincidence?
Again, I don't think it is. I think it's all part of this acceleration that we're seeing. I think it's a mix. Things are happening on a multitude of levels. It's not just one thing. In other words, if you were to look at the bees, you kind of go, well, maybe we can fix it. But see, one of the prophecies says that the nations are perplexed at the whirring of the sea. They're perplexed. In other words, there's so much going on. The acceleration of these things, of earthquakes and floods, for instance, like the earthquake and the floods, the cyclone that hit Myanmar and then the earthquake in China. Right. I talked to people that had boots on the ground. World Vision has about over I think it's like 30,000 full-time staff people in 100 countries. I believe that's the correct figures. Yeah. And they told me that the death toll in Myanmar was well over 80,000, and the death toll of the earthquake in China is well over 100,000 and climbing every day. I mean, these are just unbelievable events, and when you kind of get your head around that. That's like a football stadium full of people which no longer are alive on the planet due to one event. And we see these events like, for instance, the floods in the Midwest, the California fires, the earthquakes that are happening, volcanoes that are exploding, the bees missing, the weird weather patterns all over the place, the polar ice melting, and on and on and on. Yeah. And I realize that some people will go, well, this is just a phase that we're in. And I'm saying I don't believe it's a phase anymore. And then you look at the amount of wars that are here, the famine, the pestilence. Are you aware that over 40 to 50 million people have died in the AIDS virus in Africa alone? Are people aware of the vitriol in the Middle East that these guys are going to go at it? That Israel last week went on military exercises. They flew to Greece, which is the same distance between Israel and Greece as it is to Israel and Iran, which again is very, very specific regarding ancient prophecy and this coming great war, which will happen, which is Confederacy of Nations, which will come up against Israel and it says very specifically in the text, it says in the latter days, in the end times. That's their wordage. That's not my verbiage. That's their verbiage. In the end days, in the latter times. So I mean, I'm not pulling rabbits out of my hat here. It's stuff that's written. It's there. Right. You can read it yourself, and you start combining all these different things together, and you just got to scratch your head and go: are we in the time of the acceleration, or the quickening, or the birth pangs, as the ancient prophecies call it? And in my opinion, yes, we are.
And by the way, for those of you who are just tuning in, we are talking to Lynn Marzulli. We have rescheduled Dr. Hammond here for a later date. Lynn, we have this question from the Fast Blast link there. We were discussing this gigantic ship, and most UFO sightings, there is no noise from the engines or whatever is propelling it. And this listener would like to know, do you think it is possible that the UFOs are running on some sort of hydrogen-based fuel?
I think Stan Friedman has a wonderful analogy when it comes to this. If you took a nuclear submarine and you went back in time to Christopher Columbus and you said, "Here, Chris, here it is. Take it apart and duplicate it," he'd have no clue. Right. There's no way he could do it. He just couldn't do it. It'd be absolutely impossibility for him because the technology in that nuclear submarine is so far advanced and ahead of what was available at Columbus's time. Similarly, I think the craft that we're looking at is so far above anything that we have that it's just I wouldn't even speculate, except you can look at what Bob Lazar talks about, this element, this strange element supposedly from another planet, which allegedly he handled and speaks about in his programs, and this is that makes these saucers fly, but all that again is speculation, and there's no way to prove it. Stanton Friedman does not believe in it, so once again in the UFO community, you got a lot of different theories and a lot of different people posturing different ideas. Yeah.
Well, Lynn, you are a very interesting individual, as it seems that you have you obviously quoted some scripture from the holy text there, and you also believe that somehow or another that we're from aliens. How do you reconcile the two there? For a lot of people, that is irreconcilable difference.
Well, let me make this really clear. I do not believe that we're from aliens. I'm saying my whole point is that is the coming great deception. That is the lie that is going to be told on this planet. Right. That we are somehow genetically manipulated from extraterrestrials thousands of years ago. Right. That the world's religions were started by E.T. And I believe that is the coming great deception. Okay. That's what people will believe. Gotcha. I do not believe that in any way, shape, or form. Okay. I believe.
Thank you for that clarification.
Okay.
I missed it, and I was talking right to you. So hopefully,
hopefully
nobody else missed that. Then speaking of that deception, and let's key on that a little bit. What do you think about Project Bluebeam? Is it possible they're going to project an alien invasion?
Heard about that. I haven't done enough research to it. It would certainly. Let me back up here. According to George Filer, who's got a handle on this, he's got a website and he sends out a letter every week. Filer's Files. He believes that there's about 10,000 UFO sightings per year. All right, 5,000 go reported, another 5,000 go unreported. I talked to Ricky Sorrell, who saw this thing up close and personal, obviously underneath him. Somehow I don't think Bluebeam was involved in that. Right. I don't think Bluebeam is involved in the certainly some of these other apparitions. The 3 Mile UFO, which was seen over the English Channel last summer, seen by pilots in 2 different ships, behaved in a way that could only be some sort of an aircraft under its own propulsion. They saw this thing up close and personal. The helicopters that chased the UFO in the